Okay, hello, good day, good afternoon, good evening, depending on your location. I just want to welcome you to this session of an open house for the Alef Trust Master's Program. Today, in the next hour, we'll be talking to members of staff and also, I think, much more importantly, uh, members from our alumni community who've been through the program, who are best able to answer any questions you may have about the program and your experiences tied to it. One thing we strongly value in Alef Trust, and I think you'll see in reflection, our students and alumni, is that student experience. This is more than just an online program that I put in quotes that you see frequently advertised, which is very much self-directed and sometimes asynchronous. We do our best to build community, and we have a global community. We've had master students from more than 40 countries in the last nearly dozen years. And we've heard responses from our students how much they've enjoyed to be part of that um, vast network and its texture and its depth. So at this time, let me introduce Kendra Diaz-Ford, who is the head of our master's program. And then from there, we will connect with other staff members, as I said, and alumni. Feel free to put your questions in the chat window, and at the appropriate time, we'll begin the dialogue.
Thanks, Nick, for welcoming us. Hi, everybody. I also want to offer, if you feel comfortable, feel free to turn your web cameras on. If you don't feel comfortable with that, that's perfectly fine as well. But it's nice to also see you as we're here together in this circle. We're going to do we'll do a really short kind of grounding, kind of one of the things that we traditionally do with Alef Trust. We do this both in our meetings and also when we have classes with students is we take transitional pauses, or we take moments just to kind of settle into the body and ground ourselves to develop presence within this space, especially as we, are sitting in our own physical spaces, but connecting here virtually. So if it's comfortable for you, we'll just, you can let your eyes close, or invite you to. If you don't feel comfortable closing your eyes, you can just, or it's not safe to, if you happen to be in the car or doing something where you can't do that, then just maybe, soften your gaze. You might just kind of look down to the floor, but not really look at anything in particular. And just let yourself kind of first just feel the movement of the breath in the body. And notice the parts of the body, maybe if the legs are crossed, maybe uncrossing them. But just feel the parts of the body that are connecting to either the floor or the object that you're sitting on. Maybe it's the legs, the feet, maybe the parts of the back are also resting against something, the arms. Just notice those meeting points, those connecting points of the body to that which is supporting the body in your own physical space. And just feel how on your next exhale, you can kind of release or soften the body into those points of contact, into those meeting points. So there's a relaxing into the physical space, into the presence of this moment through the physical body. And then in the mind's eye, just kind of feel into your physical space, right? You might be able to kind of feel the distance of the left wall to the left shoulder, the right wall to the right shoulder, maybe the wall behind you, or if there's furniture or objects behind you, and also to the screen in front of you. And then as you stay connected into this physical space in which you're situated in, your body is resting in this moment, take a moment to also just feel into the online space that we're connecting into in this moment, that there is this, much like the physical meeting points of the body to the objects in which you're resting, there's a meeting point of the physical space in which you're sitting and the virtual space in which we are all connecting here within this time and within this space. And if you're watching this recording, also feeling into sort of that asynchronicity of time as well, and how there's still that energy of connection that can be made, whether you're here live or watching this as a recording. And just notice where that meeting space is for you, right? Where your physical space meets the virtual space. Just kind of feel into that. Notice what that feels like to you. Breathing into that. And it's malleable, right? It doesn't have to be a fixed location. And then maybe in that meeting point and with the breath and with the body, just noticing within your own body, within your own mind and heart, kind of feeling into those intentions around, why you're joining us today. What are some of the curiosities that are bubbling for you? What is it that you would like to know more about this learning community, this MSC? And so holding those inquiries, letting them arise. Maybe taking a couple more breaths. And when you feel ready, just letting the eyes kind of gently open. And it can be helpful just to kind of, once you open the eyes, to first just look around your physical space again, to just kind of orient yourself in a visual way to your own space before connecting back into the computer screen. And just doing that in your own time. So welcome back, everybody. Thanks for going into that short exploration, uh, centering practice with me. As Nick mentioned, I'm the academic program leader for the MSc program. And I also am a faculty, both in the first year in one of the modules and also in the second year. And I work with students in supervising their dissertation projects as well. So I feel lucky to be involved in aspects of each of the years of this 3-year learning journey that is the MSc in consciousness, spirituality, and transpersonal psychology. And I'll spend just a few moments, kind of talking a little bit about some of what what we hold here at the Alef Trust, how we teach, and also some of the elements of the progression of the program. So I'll speak to that just a little bit, and then I'm going to hand it over to Fran to introduce our alumni, who will actually then talk about their experience of going through this trajectory of the program. And then we'll have some time for question and answer. But as Nick has already mentioned, if there's a question that comes up, that bubbles up, that you want to get in the chat box, feel free to put those in as they come up, and we'll get to them in the Q&A portion of our time together today. So as I've mentioned, the MSc program it's a 3-year part-time program. In the first year is a year-long module called Learning Through Integrative Practice, which is really oriented around personal process. So within our philosophy of Alef Trust and the way in which we teach, we very much focus on transformative education, which really means we're inviting your whole self into the educational process. So we're not just teaching theory and wanting to introduce you to the fields of consciousness or make sure that you understand the landscape of transpersonal psychology, but we also introduce you to practices where you're actually working through and experiencing these these theories or practices that we talk about and that we write about. So it's both practical and experiential in that particular way, but also research oriented. So there's the both and happening within the program. In addition to this learning through integrative practice module that's happening in the first year, there's also approaches to consciousness. So that's really where you see or experience really the the foundations of consciousness. You're getting all of the theory, you're getting all of that really meaty information that's really setting a solid foundation for the rest of the program, in addition to having the experiential engagement with the learning through integrative practice. The second part of the academic year, there's a series of what we call options modules where you get to really experience and engage in lots of different types of courses of modules. And you've probably have looked into some of this. If you're here today, some of you have probably gone really deep into looking at some of what are these options. But we have courses like shamanic psychology, eco psychology, mindfulness and meditation. So we try to get an array of topics that students can then engage in that first year and really get both the depth of information as well as sort of a sprinkling, because we can only do so much in those options. You get to really get exposed to a lot of different topics within the umbrella of consciousness and spirituality and transpersonal psychology. So that first year really has that component of inner transformational work, as well as that really deep theoretical foundations for the rest of the program. When you enter year 2, we continue with the theory, but we focus more specifically on the area of transpersonal psychology. So you enter in transpersonal psychology at the beginning of the year, and simultaneously you're engaging in research design. Research design is a year-long module. And the focus of that module of research design is to give you both the theory and also the practical skills of engaging in research. So whether or not you have any research experience in psychology or any other field coming into the MSc program, we make sure that in that second year, you have the tools of research engagement, that you get the practice. And so by the time you enter into the third year, and you're engaging in your own research in that dissertation, you have a lived understanding of what it's like to develop a research question, of how to even choose a method that fits the research question that you're working with, conducting interviews, and going through all of the steps that then bring you to, a finished project of, where you have some findings about something that you're really interested in. The dissertation it happens in the third year and is that opportunity for you to take a topic that perhaps you're coming into the program with. Maybe there's something that you already know you're really interested in studying, and you're going to focus on that topic area, in your essays and in your assignments in both the first and second year. And you're just going to then go deeper into it in your dissertation project. Some of you might be coming in, I'm just interested in these areas and these topics, and I have no idea what I'm going to research. Well, those first 2 years can really be the place where you can explore different topics, have some experience with certain, practical practices that are associated with different theories that you're also learning, so that by the time you get to that third year, you have a better understanding or idea of something that you're really passionate about or interested in studying for the dissertation. So you can, we have students that come in to the program, along that entire spectrum. Some are really focused, they know exactly what they're going to do, and some just really aren't quite sure, but you have an interest in this area of work, and you want to really just be exploratory in those first 2 years before deciding upon a specific topic to research and engage in for that dissertation project in the third year. So that's sort of the trajectory of the MSc program. Our faculty, I'll speak just a little bit about the faculty. We are all over the world. I reside in in California and the Bay Area in the United States. We have faculty that are in areas of Spain. We have faculty that are in different parts of Europe. So we're we really span, kind of different backgrounds and areas of expertise. And it's what else do I want to say about the faculty? Um, we come from different, in regard to different backgrounds. Some of us have clinical degrees. Some of us are more scholar practitioners. Some of us are really focused in on research. So it's really a wide array of faculty that you get exposure to, who have broad understandings of our particular fields of interest and what we've been studying, which I think is a really unique opportunity, to just have that exposure to different philosophical systems, as well as practical ways of engaging and working with transpersonal psychology, and how you can then take that into, if some of you are coming into the program or interested in coming into the program because you're wanting to make a big career change. There's different faculty that you can kind of look at to see how did they build their career after they got, their degree in transpersonal psychology or in spiritual psychology or in consciousness studies, or if you're looking to enhance a career that you're already involved in, to be able to have conversations with faculty who have maybe made those enhancements or transitions also in fields of the same fields of study. I think that's maybe all I want to say. Maybe Nick or Fran, if there's anything else you want to add before we hand it over to the alumni. But otherwise, I think it would be really lovely to hear from Olga and Audrey, and maybe I'll just let Fran introduce them, and then we'll continue on.
Thanks, Kendra, for that lovely overview of the MSc program. And just to add that the community is really at the heart of Alef Trust. Each cohort is part of the cohort community with a personal tutor who follows progression and accompanies you throughout the 3 years. And the community experience continues on graduation. Invite all our graduates to join the alumni community for shared dialogues. And I'm delighted to welcome Audrey and Olga, who are both joining us today, two alumnus of the MSc program. And just like to hand over to either of you, Audrey, Olga, if you'd like to share one little detail, one little jewel, or one little word about your experience.
I can go. Hello, everyone. Oh, one little will be. I have a list of jewels. I have a whole box set. Perhaps for me, one of the big ones. My other points would have been echoing very much what Kendra introduced so beautifully. In terms of the transformative experience and the online community that is so grounded, and there are such strong bonds that you would never think could be formed online through these media. It's really beautiful. But perhaps what I really liked and took with me and take with me every day is the level of communication that I have learned throughout the MSc. I was one of those that Kendra mentioned that didn't have a specific career. I just loved everything about the course, and I just threw myself in completely. And I let the narrative of my career come forward to me. So there was a knowledge that formed before me, even though I had no set structure that I made for myself. The structure was there. It was always there, and it was it was very grounded in academia but very organic and kind of digressive, but yeah, the communication was a different level of academic communication that I personally have learned, and it is academic language, solid academic language, filtered through the heart, filtered to my whole self, through my past, my present, my future, and somatically through my body. So all levels of myself, and that is something that is very precious to me, certainly invaluable in any career, on any level, I think.
Oh, thank
That-
you, Audrey. That's wonderful. And just a little snippet from Olga, and then we can pass to some questions.
Fran, I'm having a little bit of trouble hearing you. I wonder if that happens to everybody or just to me. So yes, I'm letting you know just in case. But so I hope that you invited me to talk. Otherwise, I'm in the wrong place.
You're absolutely in the right place.
Okay. Well, so there's something that Kendra said when she introduced the topic that it really talk to me, because it is about that encouragement that we get in the program to integrate your life experience. What we all learn that we just swear by it because it happened to us, so how can it be wrong or but you don't need others to tell you, because you already know. But that is so important, and it needs to be put forward, especially now. I think with all this talk about artificial intelligence and where the world is going, if the computers take over. And I'm so sorry, I think I am going in a tangent, but that is just the talk every day right now in the press. And to think that the personal experience should still, for a more human world, for a better world, for humanity to go somewhere that makes sense, right? And for someone to look after the other species of the planet and of the environment, which is something that computers might not have any information about. How you see things, how you feel things, and what you have learned from personal experience is so important. And I love that about the program, the encouragement to integrate that. And the tremendous support for growth in academic skills, and then the exposure to robust thinkers and scientists. The whole thing it just develops into a growth adventure for yourself, and an adventure that will end up benefiting our community, hopefully, and the planet, because that is another aspect of transpersonal psychology, how things just ripple right from you into your neighbor, your friend, your family, your community, and it's just it's an amazing program. I cannot say enough. I fell in love with it, and I hope that you will too.
Olga, thank you. I'm going to catch those words of yours: growth adventure and making the world a better place. Yeah. Stand over back to Nick then. Thank you.
All right, so let's, feel free to put any questions in the chat box. I know this was answered in the chat, but I'll also bring this over to Kendra. Can the MSc program be fused with a doctorate?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So right now, the MSc is a separate program from the PhD program, and at the same time, there are several students that are completing the MSc program and then applying to the PhD program. So it does require another application, but there are ways in which the MSc actually prepares you, especially with the research skills, to be able to then step into the PhD if you feel that that's the trajectory that you want to take in your educational career. So you certainly can, move from one to the next, but they are considered separate programs. So it does require additional applications. I know that there are, a handful of students who have completed the MSc already and are now in the PhD. And there's, current students in their third year that are already considering moving into their PhD programs or applying for the PhD program. And that's certainly something that, if you're thinking about that now, Fran had mentioned that in the program you work with a personal tutor. So what happens is when students enter the program, they're given what's called a personal tutor, and this this tutor stays with you and supports you throughout your entire educational journey. So they're there both for some of the how do I navigate working on my assignments with my daily life, as well as some of the other pastoral care, if things are getting a little bit difficult or there's some stress that's happening or whatever it might be. I mean, daily life also happens alongside educational life, and having somebody who knows that territory that can help you along the way, we found is really an important component of the community that we create here with Alef Trust. But those are conversations that you can have with your personal tutor, as you're entering the program, or even when you get to the third year, if you start to kind of go, I wasn't thinking about the PhD, but now I am, what do you think I need, or am I ready for it? So, certainly you can have those conversations in the MSc program. If that's the trajectory that you're interested in taking for your education. I see there's a question about the research methods too. Should I
Okay,
answer
sure.
that question as well?
I was just about to bring up, so please go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So there's a question about the methods of research of transpersonal psychology. What I'll say is, in the research design course, we teach the basic foundations of qualitative research. So anything that you would get at a traditional psychology school that's teaching qualitative research methods, alongside some quantitative and mixed methods. So learning how to both do survey type research as well as in-depth qualitative research, and the different types of qualitative research and the methods for engaging in that. In addition to that, we also teach embodied and transpersonal ways of engaging in research that involves things like creating intention, how you step into the research process with the participant. The method, there also are very specific methods, qualitative research methods that are specific to transpersonal topics. So we teach those methods as well. So we really we pack in a lot in the research design module, and try to get as much of the transpersonal infused throughout the entire year, as well as the traditional research methods. I hope that answers your question, Natalia.
One that I can answer. One question came up about credits for MSc to doctorate. These are separate individual programs, so it's not credits being applied. From someone who wants to apply to the PhD, they must already just have a degree in one of the disciplines of transpersonal psychology. That's the requirement. So there's not getting credits. You cannot start the doctorate from a bachelor's level. So just to clarify that. I'll turn this one over to you, Kendra, even though it's part of the British academic system. 3 years is quite a long time to complete a master's. What was the rationale for structuring like this?
Yeah, and I see Olga has maybe also answered some of that as well. So what we found, as Olga has mentioned, that it was at one point 2 years, but it was quite a lot to really pack in. It is a part-time program. So, we are there is space, there are some students who do a 2-year program who really feel that they want to do the accelerated track. We take those on sort of a case-by-case basis. It's something that you can indicate when you apply for the program. We have had, a couple of students be successful in doing the 2-year track, but really we found that even students who, maybe start with the 2-year track, they end up doing 3 years anyways, because there really is a lot that's happening in both the first year and the second year, to help prepare you, to make sure that you're really, you understand both the content. And again, we've talked about, kind of the transformative aspects of our education. So it really also requires, we think, some time to kind of let some of those experiences integrate before getting to the dissertation level. And I think it might be helpful to hear from Olga and Audrey on this particular point as well. Just what was the experience like, going through the 3 years, and to maybe speak a little bit about that.
Yeah, I was just typing in the chat actually, a long message, but yeah, I found that, I'll echo Olga. I found the 3 years appropriate for the amount of the amount of topics, the amount of material that we had just for us really to research. And I didn't think I could have done it in a shorter period of time. In fact, it took longer for me than 3 years. I really wanted to explore all of the depth that was given to me in terms of topics and an amount of, again, material that I could explore. I hope I've been clear.
Olga, did you want to say anything too about your experience of going through the program over the course of 3 years?
Yeah, sorry, I was typing on the window, so I really thought, as I replied to Adam, that it was a lot. I mean, I do understand, because I am an English as a second language student, that it could have been a bit more challenging for me specifically. But I heard the other, native English speakers just try to catch up, because I suppose it could have been done. We could have rushed through, but there is so much beauty in the resources that are shared with us that we would have felt like we missed out. So the 3 years really allowed me the chance to get the most out of it. And I still think that I would love to go back and take a few modules that I couldn't take before, just as an open learner, because I can only talk from my experience, but I did hear other students say, and as Audrey said too, it's just it's such a beautiful program with so many opportunities for growth in so many directions that I just can't imagine to have got it shorter.
All right.
Can I add something to that, just before we jump to the application process question for UNIC? But it's the MSc program, it's 3 years as well. It's very much a personal learning journey. It's a developmental journey, and that takes time. You can rush through things and do things more quickly and take courses for credits and process information more quickly. But the kind of deep transformative learning that occurs throughout during this program, that extra year, that extra bit of time, and giving yourself more time to go a little bit deeper into the course, into the areas of interest, it really makes a difference. Just having that time to go a bit deeper. And I say that as well as someone who has been through the MSc program, as a graduate of the program myself. I really felt that was a good length of time.
All right. I'd like to add on to that, and something I've observed. I've been with Alef Trust now for many years, and I have seen some profound changes in the students on their journey. And that's such an important factor about our master's program. And what I brought up at the beginning, that it's not quote unquote just an online program, because many college and university programs today, it's a very, every week you produce information, it becomes quite mechanical. The difference, and I think it's a very important difference and a great payout in the long term for each of our graduates, you're permitted the time and space to go deep, to explore, to understand. And those seeds are planted in year one through learning through integrative practice. Give it time, and you just see some amazing changes in our students in those 3 years and their choices later on for the professional career goals, that something germinates, something grows, and they come out for the better. And when Professor Lancaster created this program nearly 30 years ago, that was his intent. That was far more than book learning, that'd be something experiential. Now, I'd like to just switch. There was a question here about not having a bachelor's degree. In the British academic system, it's one of the very few around the world. There is a way to join a master's program without having a bachelor's degree. In our case, there are two potential paths forward. In the first, you would apply as anyone else would do for the master's program. We would, your application would be reviewed, and if there's merit, then you'd be asked to submit an essay. The essay will be chosen by the application review committee. Please keep in mind that it needs to be, thought out and written in academic format and voice. It needs to be on a master's level. Sometimes that's a stretch for people, even those who've had bachelor's degrees and it's been 10 or 20 years. Another alternative, if you want to take it, more gradually, is to join our open learning program next February and choose spiritual psychology and 2 options, and also opt to do the academic paper. This will permit you time to, one, get accustomed to the environment, because sometimes it's kind of hard to just, get out the gate running if you've never had academic experience before. You would complete your course of spiritual psychology. Then when it gets about this time next year, you would make your application for the MSc program in September, starting September of 24. And should you successfully complete spiritual psychology and also be accepted into the MSc program, then the work you've done in spiritual psychology will be submitted for credit the following year with LJMU, and correspondingly you would have a light load in the spring 25 semester. So those are 2 ways forward, and if anyone has any further questions on it, please contact me. Now, there was also, Fran asked to share about admissions, because one, it's important. We're getting to the point where it's time to have the applications in. Tomorrow's June 1, and we urge applicants to get their applications no later than June. We do take applications through the summer. However, which is the big caveat, we take in a fixed number of new students per year. It's not open-ended that we keep stuffing. So if you get towards the end of this application season, sometimes we need to put you on a waiting list. And if you're ready to go, you need to do it now. Also to consider, if you are a student where English is not your first language, or you're thinking of joining the program without a bachelor's degree, there's a little bit more time needed in the application process. In the first instance, you will need to have either your IELTS or TOEFL exams. This is a mandatory requirement by Liverpool John Moores University. I know it's asked, can I please not do it? That's one of the crimes. Without that certificate, we can't go further. And sometimes you need to schedule a test. They've done much better. Until pre-COVID, it was a 2 to 3 month waiting time. So that's why we would say get it in by May to test, because you would have to wait till July or August. So if that's something in your case you need to do, I would go immediately schedule the testing. Now they're within a span of 1 to 3 weeks, but we still have to wait 5 to 6 weeks for the test results. And then the second instance, if you're thinking of applying without a bachelor's degree, as I mentioned, there's this other piece of submitting an essay. So that's going to add at least minimally 2 to 3 weeks to the process. So even if you're talking submitting in mid-June, you may not have a result back until mid-August. And that's right before we're getting things started. So do keep that in mind. Also, if you're going to do the application, always remember to keep after your referees. I will be in contact with you. I do go through them regularly. If another week goes by and we haven't received anything, I will be in communication with you. Sometimes I get it that your referee may not be available. It's okay if we change it. I'll take care of it on your application. Very easy. Otherwise, should you have any other questions, please let me know. There could be some on there. I haven't been reading the chat window.
Nick, there's a couple that are associated with what you're talking about. So maybe I'll just point them out to you. There's a question around having done the coaching program help with the application without a bachelor's?
I'm going to say, and everyone doesn't like to hear this, it's a case-by-case basis when the application's reviewed. And when I talk to people, pay attention to your essays, to your personal statements, speak from your heart, but put it in a format that's academic. Those are the people who are accepted. We don't accept everybody. And I bring this up for people who have not had a bachelor's. Last year I decided to look at acceptance numbers. It turned out we accept, even the percentage of people we accept without bachelor's degrees runs within 1 or 2% of those who already have master's and doctorates. So there was no deviation. And we have turned down people with extensive educational experience, but they never articulated what was the thing that they were searching from the program. So again, speak from your heart. No judgments from that. I think one of the very best students we ever had in this program never had one day of university, who was a gifted thinker and writer. He was a shaman from his tribe, and immediately he had, that thing, that drive, that desire. So again, it's up to, each of you.
And can I say something just sort of related to that, Nick, but not the application process, but more what we then do in the program is, we've been talking a lot about research skills and, writing and all of that. And in the program, we do have a structure that's in place to not only teach you about the content of the topics that, consciousness, spirituality, and transpersonal psychology, but we also have a whole learning platform that teaches you the skills of all of these, of what you need in order to be a critical thinker and researcher and writer. So as you're progressing through the program and learning the content and the theory, you also have available to you learning webinars and tons of resources that are focused on helping you build the skills to be successful in those assessments and assignments. So, I see in this one last question here that you've completed your bachelor's in 1986. Some of you may not have, but you haven't been in academic schooling for quite some time, and maybe feeling a little bit nervous about some of the writing skills. We do help you along the way with building those skills. And also there's a front-loaded summer course that if you do get accepted, you apply and you get accepted into the program, you can dive right into that skills-based course before you even start the academic year, so that you can refresh on some of those writing and thinking skills to feel like, you can have some preparation to step into, working on assignments and reading and what to focus on and all of that as well. So I just want to kind of put that out there, that we do also help you with some of the skill building along with the content and the theory, and we know that because we know that students, we've experienced over the years that, again, students are coming in with a spectrum of, academic skills and understanding and experience. And we want everybody, if we've accepted you into the program, we want you to be successful in the program. And so we do our best to provide that container and that learning.
Yeah, thank you for adding that. Sometimes I don't do that on our communications. We do offer more support than most other programs that you'll see online. Now, to answer a couple more questions, one qualifier for the IELTS or TOEFL, if English is your second language, however, if you have successfully completed a bachelor's and or master's program in an English-speaking country, or if it was taught in English and you can verify it and send it to me, then you will be exempt from having to submit to the IELTS or TOEFL tests. So that's a matter, again, your certificate, or diploma. I know, especially in Northern Europe, a lot of academic programs now are taught in English. So as long as we have some paper trail to that, then you'll be exempt for it. Now, the other question from Raquel, our programs are classified as research programs, and they are not, they were never created for somebody who wants to be as a practicing therapist or counselor. And part of that process also, you need to have supervision. There's a lot of hands-on in person. No online program could ever do that. And again, I would say research the requirements of the jurisdiction in which you plan to practice. It's virtually impossible for us, from our vantage point, to know the requirements because there's 100+ countries, and just even within the United States has 50 separate requirements to be a counselor or a psychologist, therapist, etc. So it must fall on the individual. However, we do not have the capabilities, and there is no online program to do that. And generally, you need to do it in the jurisdiction you plan to practice in. So just keep that in mind.
I would say, in addition to that, Nick, that there are several. So if you're interested in being a counselor or a therapist, follow what Nick just said. If you're interested in being a coach or a practitioner, there are several students that go through the MSc program and either finish the whole MSc program and then enter into the coaching program, or some people start with the transpersonal coaching program, which is a practitioner oriented certificate, and then enter the MSc. And some students, if they can manage it with their schedules, will start the transpersonal coaching program either in their second or third year of the MSc. So it really kind of depends on, the type of qualification as far as practitioner, versus a coach versus a therapist or a psychologist. If you're interested in coaching, the trajectory that I just mentioned is something that can be offered through Alef, but most certainly if you're interested in being a therapist or a counselor, you don't have those certifications already, then following what Nick has advised is really the route to go. But there are students who sometimes they want to have both the research skills and the counseling skills. There have been students that go through the MSc, get the research skills, and then, take an additional, couple of years at a different program that's focused on, counseling or, therapy qualifications. So again, I think those are continued conversations to maybe have with Nick if there's these sort of nuances and very specific things that are oriented to, what you're interested in, how you're interested in developing in your educational program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I also like to add, we do have licensed counselors and therapists on our program too. Sometimes I've seen with our students, either they come with us and then get into a program such as that, or they get into their counseling program and then come back to us to get that addition to transpersonal psychology. So there are plenty of options. And just as a follow-up on what Kendra had said, case in point is one of our MSc graduates that I have been in contact with. He's in a program in the UK to be a licensed psychologist, has made that choice. So he's actually done, both, from both ways of trying to get from this side of the research end, and he's actually applying what he has gained from his MSc degree into his PhD in his program that eventually he's thinking about working people with PTSD in the military, and has put together a very interesting theory of bringing spiritual practice into it. So there are plenty of ways or options, but I just need to always bring that up as a clarity that you just don't take our program and boom, you're awarded the role of a psychologist and you can put your shingle out.
Maybe we could go to a couple of questions about the references.
Okay,
Asking
that's
about, there's 2 questions about the what to do if you don't have an academic reference.
okay. And that, I'll tell everyone, that happens frequently. We get it, that sometimes it's been 10 or 20 years since you were in your last academic program, and sometimes you've been longer and everyone who's in your program has died and there's nobody around who even remembers. In those cases, should you not be able to get hold of an academic reference, then think about professional reference. People who know you, who have worked with you, who understand your interest, your ambitions and goals in the fields, of transpersonal studies and consciousness studies, to write the letter. It cannot come from a family member. So just for that to be clear, we can't have your mother write you a letter, say how great you are in the studies. But anyone you've dealt with, and also, I've seen from the applications over the years that a number of you have taken some shorter programs, frequently through yoga. We've received a number of reference letters from people who've taken some certification in yoga studies or meditation studies and had that teacher or instructor send us the letter. So if you have questions, please contact me, email me. We'll bounce around ideas and figure out, how or what's the best way. But generally, it's the academic reference letter. It's an academic version of a job reference letter, where you're hoping that this person who's sent the reference letter is talking, to support your goals, support your interest, that you have the drive and the ambition to make it for the 3 years, because any master's degree, not just ours, is arduous. There's always that point somewhere in the first few months that you ask yourself, what did I get myself into? And no, that's perfectly normal. When you get into any master's program, it's not just you didn't goof up or anything, it's just part of the process. But to speak about your talents, your capabilities, sometimes they have shared stories of what that person went through that showed transformative change. Sometimes it wasn't, good experiences. I remember one letter, and the woman had not been working because she was caretaking for elderly relative. That became the content, that this woman had given herself to take care of a family member through the death process. That there was a telling narrative there that was supporting her entry in the program. So there are various ways. So, if you ever have questions, just please contact me, and as I said, we'll talk through it. We'll try to figure out what's the best way forward. Maybe you can quiet. I'm just going through the speak.
Can I
The-
ask a
Oh, go ahead.
sorry?
Yes.
Yeah, can I ask a question? I'm Alicia Trotman.
Yeah, like,
Nice to see everyone here. I just wanted to ask, I wanted to apply, but I saw the link become a student. Am I supposed to go through that link to apply?
yes, please do.
Okay.
Yeah, to go
Thank
through the
you.
processes.
Okay.
When you inquire through Alef Trust, become a student, you'll see it in different wording throughout the website, but eventually it gets channeled in through one area, about 98% of them. And then you'll be sent a letter, and within that letter will be a link. And what we do, it's a private web page. It's not seen on the public side. It's the MSc application resource page. The application's there, all information, much of it that we've covered today. I mean, we did cover in more detail that you would have to support your application. At the same time, my email address is there. Should you have any questions, I'm available to dialogue. I'm your go-to person from the moment you get that letter to your first day of orientation. You have a question, please contact me. I will likely know the answer. If not, I will find the person, find the answer in some way, shape, or form. I stay in dialogue with you through the application process. So again, as I said, if we're waiting on the letter and I'm looking at the calendar, I'll say, hey, your letter from Tom Jones hasn't arrived. Could you prompt them? And if it turns out they're not available, as I said, we'll locate somebody else.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, we're coming to the top of the hour. Do we have any other questions or comments? Okay, what information should we be asking our reference pro? As mentioned, it's the equivalent of a job reference to an academic level. What are your talents? What is your connection? Sometimes, you'll have an employer who's aware of your interest in the area. So just think about in that term. They're selling you. They're selling you. It's a character reference. And if somehow they could explain, as I said, if you've taken a yoga course, a meditation course, they may speak about that in there. Or if you happen to know somebody else, it could be a coach, it could be a teacher, somebody who was aware of something went through. So the example I had given of the woman taking care of her relative, it actually came from somebody from hospice in the end, which is a very unlikely place to get a reference letter, but it was one of the most eloquent letters we had ever received. And more than showed that this woman was more than capable. In fact, she was demonstrating the very things we were hoping to impart to students on the program. I think this last one, Kendra, you can answer about the module course assessment and its frequency.
Yeah, I was just typing in, so thank you. And I think Fran also wrote something in there as well. Each of the modules, there are slightly different assessment structures in each of the modules, but generally speaking, there's going to be some sort of project that's completed somewhere in the middle, the front part of the module to the middle part of the module, and then there's an essay that's at the end. So it's generally that kind of setup. You're not going to be asked to produce an essay every single week. We do have forum engagements that are part of most of the modules. So there are certain 2-week periods where you are writing, shorter posts within the online forums and then responding to other cohort members around certain questions or topics. And that is an assessed part of the module as well. But yeah, we don't work on sort of a weekly structure where there's something that has to be submitted every single week. It doesn't have that kind of level of intensity or frequency to each of the modules. But again, the the year-long modules, there are more things, more assessments that are happening, but again, they're spaced out in a way that makes it, doable. And we do really follow, it's a part-time program. So we are expecting that, the majority of the students are also working, part-time or full-time alongside their studies. So we try to be really conscious of that. So we also, as module, leaders, we try to also set up the assignments so you don't have two major assignments in two different modules at the same exact time as well. So we stagger the assignments in that particular way as well.
All right, thank you, Kendra. One last thing I'll respond to, and then we'll finish up for today. We have one intake per year. That's in September. So to answer that question, I was going through and I realized we had overlooked it. So if you don't go for this September, then you would have to wait till this time next year. So again, I want to thank everybody for taking the time out to attend. We're happy that you've been here. As I said, now we're getting into June, so it's getting time to get the applications in. So, please, have questions, please contact us. I'm going to put my email, okay, there it is, in the chat box. Should you have any, follow-up questions, we'll be more than happy to answer it. Just channel them through me. If you have a specific question to somebody else here on the panel, I'll be more than happy to forward it and we'll get the information to you. But again, thank you again for attending and have a good day and a good evening.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Look forward to hearing from you. And thank you, Audrey and Olga.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks,
Thanks for
everyone.
being here.